Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Trader Merlin Show. It is your Tuesday edition. Yes, a lot of excitement out there today. Thank you all for the questions. I received multiple questions. Usually it's been kind of quiet lately, so maybe we've exhausted all of our topics. But did get some questions from you guys for today's show, which is great. Most of them, actually two of them are related to defense, which I thought was an interesting topic. So that's where I'm going to go with to start the program today. And one of the questions was specifically about Lockheed Martin, LMT. So I'm going to start there, but let me read the two questions to you so we can kind of get a general idea as to where I'm going to go with today's show, and then we'll dive into, yes, the MicroStrategy. Yeah, that puts nerve-wracking on the MicroStrategy today, but it's all right. We'll get there. So here's Jonathan says, my father has held LMT stock for years, and I'm worried about the current drop in price. Should he close the position? Well, first off, before I even start, I'm not a financial advisor, not a financial planner. I can't give you financial advice. I'll just give you my broad thoughts on it, and you act on it accordingly how you see fit. So that's how we'll tackle that one. And then the second one, which kind of ties into this, Scott said yesterday you briefly mentioned the defense sector. Could you dive deeper into where you see it going? Certainly I will do that, at least a broad market sector. And I think if you want to know more, Scott and others, I did a show, I think about a month ago, on defense and kind of breaking down the different defense companies, what they look like, what are the opportunities. And I think right now, if you look at the gains for the year, pretty much every defense company for the year of 2024 has had a phenomenal run to the upside. Everything looking great. Now, Lockheed Martin has been particularly soured recently. I'm not exactly sure why it's sold off so much, but we will start there with Lockheed Martin, and then I'll bring up a list of some of the other ones. So here's your Lockheed Martin. If you look off the highs it established just a couple of weeks ago, I'll go from this high on October 21st to where we are right now. You're looking at a decline of about 16%. Now, to be fair, it's not that bad. I mean, a 16% slide is certainly not great, but it's not that bad. I mean, look, MicroStrategy was down over 16% in a day. At least this has taken over a month to get there. Now, to the original comment from Jonathan, your father's owned the stock for years. Should he close the position? Well, that is almost an impossible one for me to answer without all the facts in place. But I'm going to go, since you mentioned years, let's start off with our weekly chart here. It pretty much is certain that unless he bought within the last 2 months, 3 months, your father's up significantly on this position, and like big time. Now, the question is, what's his goal with it? Is his goal that he loves defense stocks and he thinks it's going to continue to appreciate and gain in value? Then who cares if it drops 16%? Maybe even buy some more. Now, I certainly wouldn't overload that position and buy too much. I wouldn't put all of his assets in one company. But if his belief is it's going to keep on going up, then why not stay with it? The other thing that may have been that he could be doing along this way is selling calls against that position to generate even more revenue. Now, why is it taking this drop? Well, a part of it has been a few days ago, we saw, yeah, exactly, Steve. Dad's got some fat profits. Maybe that's why Jonathan wants him to sell it. So he can lock that in and be like, hey, Pops, can you pay me something? Elon Musk, in his crazy tweets that he goes into at wee hours of the morning, tweeted out the other day, and I was trying to find it, but I couldn't. He tweets so much, it's like impossible for me to go and find that specific tweet. So I'm going to just do my best here. But it was talking about the Lockheed Martin F-35. And I apologize, I'm not looking at the camera. I'm trying to scroll, find this image, and show you his official tweet and talk at the same time. But the point that was made in that was actually a pretty good one. And the point was, well, Elon Musk was pretty crass about it. He said, look, you've got morons are still making these F-35s, which is riddled with the problems, and no one's going to be using those in a few years. It'll all be drones. It's a very valid point. I actually do think that the future will be fought with unmanned drone technology. However, there are certain things today anyway, with today's technology, that drones can't do. I've yet to see anything, and maybe you guys can prove me wrong here, I've yet to see a drone yet break the speed of sound or go stealth. Of course, there's a lot more to it than that, and payloads and things like that. However, he kind of went after the traditional establishment, saying, why would anyone even want these planes? Because you're going to have just a fleet of drones. I could buy one of these F-35 jets, or I could buy tens of thousands of drones to achieve the same end goal and just do it in mass. Someone once asked me, if you had to fight off I forgot what it was. It was something like if you fight off would you rather fight off like 3 alligators, 10 chimpanzees, or 10,000 rats? It's like you're probably most afraid of 10,000 rats. You can't deal with that many of them. And I think that's kind of the attitude with drones going forward. So while I don't think that Elon Musk's comments are wrong, man, I'm just scrolling and scrolling. I cannot find that picture, that post he made. I don't think Elon Musk's comments are wrong. Here it is. Finally found it. Elon Musk says the F-35 design was broken at the requirement levels because it was required to be too many things to too many people. This made it an expensive and complex jack of all trades, master of none. Success was never in this set of possible outcomes. And manned fighter jets are obsolete in the age of drones anyway, will just get pilots killed. And this was coming off an article written, this was just a few days ago. So that was his comment. And of course, everybody is just going after it and attacking Lockheed Martin. I think part of the reason you're seeing this sell-off is an Elon Musk-driven event, but also there could be some problems with Lockheed Martin that I don't know about. I don't look at fundamentals anymore. I don't really care. I like to see if they're making money, and we can look at that front here on Lockheed Martin and just, are they making money? Well, Lockheed Martin made $6.84 per share, blowing out the expectations of $6.50 per share. And the quarter before that, they beat earnings, and the quarter before that, they beat earnings, and the quarter before that, they consistently beat earnings. So I think that Lockheed Martin as an investment, probably not a bad idea. I don't see them going away. And let's be honest, Lockheed Martin will probably start to innovate and make an F-35 unmanned aircraft, a drone-type jet that could do all the capabilities without having a physical human being in the cockpit. So to go down this path of answering the question for Jonathan, should he sell his position? I can't say anything to that, really. It really depends on what his belief system is. You could be buying protection. And again, depending how large that position is, maybe one of the safe things to do is to buy insurance on a monthly or quarterly basis. When I say buy insurance, that means find out how many put options you would need to buy to offset the risks. And you could go and just buy X amount of contracts to cover your position. Therefore, if it drops 10, 15%, you're not going to lose anything because you got the options. As far as selling it, my guess is he has a gigantic tax liability coming if he does do that. So probably doesn't want to sell it because there's a lot of taxes that need to be paid here. I don't think that the uptrend that we've seen since 2011 is really when this thing started to take off. I don't see this as being the end all for Lockheed Martin. I don't think that this is really that bad of a deal. I would be interested in looking at some levels where I'd be attracted as a buyer potentially. You notice where this little red line is here at 460. That's the origin of this last really big move that happened on a weekly basis back in July of this year. Well, maybe you're looking at 470 strikes on Lockheed Martin and sell those on 30-day intervals until you get down to that level. I think you'll probably be okay doing that. Lockheed Martin, again, I think is going to do rather well in this whole thing. Yeah, ask Kramer. So where does it fit in the big picture? Well, I grabbed this graphic from Yahoo, which I really liked, and it really just outlined a lot of defense stocks. So you can see you've got and I'm just going to read the year-to-date returns for you, just so you can get a sense as to how this sector has performed. You've got GE Aerospace up 81% on the year, Raytheon or RTX up 43%, Lockheed Martin up 15% for the year, General Dynamics only 8%, Northrop Grumman 4%. Then you got some other almost less recognizable brand names out there that stand out in defense. You've got TDGs up 24%, Axon Enterprises up 144%, Howmet Aerospace 116%, and LHX or L3 Harris is up 16%. The only one that's down for the year out of this list is Boeing, and that's down 42% for the year. So all in all, the trajectory for a lot of these companies looks fantastic. And if you look at potential competitors for Lockheed Martin, you look at Northrop Grumman, there's NOC on a weekly. Again, fantastic since those 2010, 2011 lows, but struggling here a bit as of late. You look at RTX, still continuing to truck higher and higher and higher. So as you guys know, the mantra, which I should probably change that to the show, is the trend is your friend until the bend at the end. Raytheon still looks great. Northrop Grumman, struggling a little bit, but the trend is still high, just not making higher highs. So that's kind of concerning. But LMT, my opinion, still in a phenomenal uptrend. It hasn't really broke a pivot low, so I think you're looking to as a buying opportunity as it comes into areas of demand. Now you look at companies like GE Aerospace, which ever since they did their split has just been absolutely fantastic. I mean, it's crazy to think that GE Aerospace was at $37 back in 2022, and here we are now at $184 on GE Aerospace. So all in all, from a defense perspective, I think there's a lot of great plays. I think the current political environment is going to lead more to that. Now, I did see in chat, and I don't know how truthful that is or if it's really come to fruition. I saw Joe Biden say something about, a peace accord today, but I didn't catch all the details of it. And obviously, the more peace we have, the less need we have for defense. But when all is peaceful, it's like Bollinger Bands, right? I think of peace and war as Bollinger Bands. When Bollinger Bands get very tight and compact and compressed, that's peace, not a lot happening. When that happens, you guys tell me, when Bollinger Bands get pinched and get really compressed, what do you expect to happen soon? A breakout. Volatility spikes and those bands, boom, they pop. So when it's all as peaceful, that's when wartime is right around the corner. And when war is on, peace should be right around the corner. Maybe we're into that peaceful phase, or at least hopefully we get into that peaceful phase. So to answer those questions for you, Scott, I'm not going to dive into each one of those companies because I just don't have time today to do all of that. But you can go into, I think it was last month, a show on defense. You can check the archives at Trader Merlin to find out that one, where we kind of ran through each one of these with a little bit of a deeper breakdown. And for Jonathan, it's really up to your pops what he wants to do with it. I personally wouldn't be so concerned at this moment with Lockheed Martin. I think that LMT is just in a pullback phase. I think it might be further exaggerated because of Elon Musk's impact. Because a lot of new traders are going to look at this and go, "Oh well, that means that this is bad for Lockheed Martin, and it's going to push it down." Sure, they'll jump on that bandwagon. One thing that I think is of interest, especially with Trump going back into office, is Elon Musk will certainly have the ear of Donald Trump in many cases. And it would not surprise me to see if Elon Musk has conflicts or attitudes or has some opinions about specific companies, that may boil over into policy going forward. So if he does have some vendetta, some issue with Lockheed Martin, that he just doesn't want anything to do with Lockheed Martin, that may trickle through to the political level and maybe contracts go elsewhere as opposed to going to Lockheed Martin. But I don't know. That's all speculative, and we don't want to go that much into speculation as we're making our trades. All in all, I like the uptrend. I love the pullback. I think it's most likely a buying opportunity. If you want to generate income on this, I would say you could be selling calls against his position or looking to buy protection by buying puts directionally to offset that risk of that position. So that's where I would go with that one on our defense stock. So let's see. What did you guys say? Chad says, unmanned combat jets are evolving rapidly with trials underway. Expect AI wingmen with the skies. Yep, 100%. And I think we would all, I love the movie Top Gun. I love all of them, especially Maverick. Maverick was just awesome when you look at the new technology of these jets and what they're capable of. The movie would lose its luster if you didn't have Goose and Maverick. And let's not forget Merlin, okay? He's in the movie, so let's not forget about Merlin. But, you lose Maverick as a personality, and then combat becomes boring. Obviously, combat is not meant to be happy and exciting. It's meant to be, a way to resolve some situation or disagreement. So in the future, we'll probably have all AI weapons. I don't know, some of you guys have seen the robot dogs in China. Basically, those Boston Dynamic dogs. I guess China has whole fleets of them now, and they can just strap M16s to the back. I mean, that's the future of combat. It's going to be whoever has the most robots. And that comes down to the battle of chips, AI. Who's got the systems in place? Who's got the robots? Who's got the drones to invade other countries? That will probably be the future of warfare, which is great because there's going to be less loss of combatant life in those processes. Let's see. I don't think that Elon Musk's comments were about the drone version of the F-35. I think it was about the F-35 period because they wanted it to do so many different things that it was just hodgepodge. That's the actual, human piloted jet, and not the drone version. Let us manufacture the aircraft because they already have orders from the government. There you go. I'm sure Boeing's the losers here. Look, I watched it again today. I keep going back to it. I was like, do I go for it again? We bounced up to 150 today, and I still did not pull the trigger. I'm waiting and waiting and waiting patiently. Boeing did have a nice bounce, but all in all, still in that gorgeous downtrend. Exactly. So swarm drones, yeah, not a drone F-35. But look, let's be honest. I think we probably all agree. I would hope we'd all agree that at some point this aircraft will be a drone. This will be an unmanned vehicle. No need for a cockpit. We get rid of all that space. We can condense this down. This will be just some, we're controlled by some 14-year-old kid in the what's that big base in Colorado? The big mountain bunker. They'll just be sitting there with their little remote control stations manning the warcraft. And to me, that's the future of warfare. And yeah, in this day and age, does this plane stand a chance against 10,000 drones? I mean, that's a pretty, I don't know. I actually would say no. I think that if you had 10,000 drones, which would cost you a lot less than what this plane would cost you, could you take down an F-35 with 10,000 drones? And I would think the answer would be yes. The drones are nowhere near as fast. Nowhere near as fast. The F-35 could outmaneuver them. There it is, Fort Collins. Could absolutely outmaneuver all those drones. But we're talking just sheer quantity. All one of them has to do is attach or have some kind of magnetic structure and explosive payload that as soon as it touches that airplane, it sticks to it and blows up. Then all of a sudden our multi-million dollar, or I don't know how much this thing, 100 million? It's a very expensive aircraft, is gone. So, the sheer quantity of drones will ultimately win. Yeah, Steve says a lot faster than any drone. Yeah, there's no comparison. I mean, this is like putting a Volkswagen Beetle against a Tesla Roadster that does 0 to 60 in 1.4 seconds or something. Yeah, there's no comparison. But it's just sheer quantity of drones versus these aircraft. The quantity of drones will probably win. My guess. My guess. All right, what else did I have out here for today? So I had multiple questions, and I'm trying not to steer this digitally, but it seems like now with what's going on with crypto and regulatory, I have my emails for all the different places I work and write for are filling up with just crypto questions. It's crazy. So Thomasina asked, you asked one. I want to get to the exact wording of it because I thought it was a good one, and I don't have the email here in front of me, so let me get to this in just a second. Thomasina asked this. She says, understanding the crypto market still feels like the wild, wild west. What do you believe is the minimum knowledge, experience, etc. one should have acquired before they call themselves a crypto expert? And it's not for me. Look, personally, I don't like calling myself an expert in anything. I think that we're constantly going to be learning along the way. And as soon as you feel, especially with crypto, as soon as you feel you're an expert in it, you'll become complacent and not learn anymore. You'll be like, I understand it. It's going to change by next month. It'll be a completely different thing. I don't know if there's a specific amount of time or resources. Maybe, there should be some kind of test if you understand the basics. But I think to really understand crypto and digital assets, you should dive into it. Obviously, it's a gratuitous plug for the course that I built for Training Academy. But there's all types of information out there. And I would make sure that if you are getting involved in crypto, you understand why, right? It's the 5 W's, the who, what, where, why, and when of these assets, which make it important. And I think if you can clearly articulate and have a good understanding of each of those 5 categories, then maybe you could classify yourself as an expert. But, I don't classify myself as an expert, and I can in-depth explain all those 5 W's to you. I think one part that's really important is, it's like saying you're an expert in cars. I have friends who can look at a car and go, oh, well, that's a 1963 Jaguar XKS, 255 CL. Great car. But they open up the hood and they're just like, beep, 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 beep. They have no clue what they're looking at. So I think it's important for you to know not only how crypto or what crypto is. Here's Dogecoin, here's Shibu, here's Bitcoin. But when you look under the hood, do you understand it? Do you understand how Bitcoin is created? Do you understand how Litecoin is created or Ethereum? What's the goals? How do they function? How does this giant global community agree that so-and-so has X amount of Bitcoin in their wallet without any problems along the way? So to me, that is, that's the important part is understanding the mechanics of how it all works. Then you dive deeper into it, and I would say that I believe you need to have an understanding of the utility of it. Like, why do these projects exist? And that is a much broader topic of expertise, because no longer are you saying, I just need to know about crypto. That actually requires you to learn about traditional legacy financial systems, right? How do banking systems work? How does a centralized business function? And then you can compare and contrast the two asset classes together. So I think that's how I would tackle it. I don't think I could give you a definitive, well, they need to know this, this, and this. There's a lot to it. There's a lot more to it. But, I think for anybody here who is interested in it, just fall into the rabbit hole a little bit and just start researching the reason Bitcoin came to be. And then you'll evolve into understanding all these other layer one protocols. I mean, there are more and more fund managers that are raising their price targets for Bitcoin. They're talking about digital asset ecosystems. The DTCC, which is the entity, a government entity, which is required to hold all of the stocks for everybody in the United States, is now looking at migrating over to blockchain technology from a logistics perspective. I mean, that's huge. They're mentioning that they're super excited about digital assets and the incorporation of those. So, we are still in that infancy stage, and there's going to be a lot of bumps along the way, as you've experienced in this crypto market in the last 48 hours. It's, it's boom bust sometimes, where you get these great moments of euphoria, and then all of a sudden things come crashing down. I saw, what was the Bitcoin not 100K by now? What's going on with Bitcoin? Well, I think you just have a pullback. I mean, look at the run up. It's insane to think that you could have a run up in an asset class of 47% in 13 days without a significant pullback. And here we are having a good pullback. I wouldn't call this significant. If you go off the all-time high here, which is on the futures market, which is just over 100,000 to where we are now, that's an 8% drop. I could see it going lower. I can definitely see it coming back down into the high 80s here. You can see this is kind of the last area of rally base, rally out. There's also some unfilled gaps. Of course, this is futures, not the spot market, which would not have this gap. But that target is back around 76,000. Now, I don't believe it will get to 76,000, but it certainly could be a target for it. I see a lot of you mentioning Jim Cramer. If this guy isn't the kiss of death for any company or a project, I don't know what is. He just said, I wouldn't buy MicroStrategy, I'd own Bitcoin. And he goes, Bitcoin's the only one I would buy Bitcoin, buy. He said it multiple times, like, oh, Jim, please shut up. Tell people to sell Bitcoin, would you? Just tell them to unload and it's going to crash. He is the absolute genie of financial markets. He's the inverse genie of financial markets. It's crazy. Yeah, Liz says it. When she says buy, what he means is buy the house, buy the... That's good. I like that. That's really funny. Let's see. Kramer's very positive on Bitcoin. He's also, he mentioned the other day, he said, just buy Apple, don't trade it. Apple's going up. So that's a kiss of death for Apple. And he said the same thing about Nvidia as well. So he's all over the place. So, Thomasina, I don't know if there's a litmus test, right? Is there an SAT for you to say, hey, I'm qualified to talk about cryptos? Just learn about them. And, obviously, if you're really into it, you could join our program at Trading Academy, which takes you from basics to varying degrees of complexity. It's just really understanding how this whole machine works. And I feel almost hypocritical because I actually do like cars. I like cars a lot. But when you open up the hood, I'm an idiot. I don't understand the combustion engine at all. I can swap out my battery, change my oil, and do all that type of stuff, but just understanding how the engine in a car functions. But I can definitely tell you how the engine in crypto, Bitcoin, Litecoin, all these different projects functions. And they're all different, just like a car's engine is different. And the long-term perspective for me anyway is that this is going to be the rails on which the entire financial globe functions. Not just the banking system in the U.S., not the logistics tracking services in Europe. It's all of it will be on blockchain technology that's either run by small entities or large corporations or decentralized marketplaces. So that's why I want to learn it. Let's see. I agree. We can get to 85K and then 100. Yeah, I still think 100,000 by year end. I tweeted out today. I don't know if you guys saw it. I genuinely am questioning this transaction that happened. So here's what I posted last night. And I mentioned this to you guys in the show yesterday. I just said, how is it possible? And I'm asking Michael Saylor, that Michael Saylor bought 55,000 Bitcoin and the market barely moved. If I bought 4,975 Bitcoin on Coinbase right now, I'd push the price up to 165,000. I even have the graphic sitting right there. I get that there's institutional markets, but where did you get 55,000 Bitcoin? Someone please explain this magic to me. And I'm asking, extremely knowledgeable people in the industry, and not one person's going to bite and respond to this. No one. None of them have responded to it at all. Actually got very little interaction. But Margaret, you responded on there, but that's not, he doesn't say where he gets them from. My assumption is he's going through a corporation, or he's going through an entity that has assets, that has some Bitcoin, but no one's sitting on 55,000 Bitcoin willy-nilly that he can just buy right now and not move the market. That's my point. You have to move that market. Jenna says you're an expert in crypto. You can say that. I don't call myself an expert in really anything. I don't know. I think that when you call yourself an expert, it adds an air of arrogance to you, and I don't like that. I'm not arrogant about it. I understand crypto. I'm excited about it. I think it's the future. But to call me an expert, I don't know. I'm not going to ever call myself an expert in anything. I've been trading for 28 years, and I would still say I'm not an expert. I would say I'm good at what I do. I'm experienced, but I don't know. I don't like the term expert. I feel like it has cockiness to it that I'm not a fan of. So Margaret says private deals, but where? See, and again, this is what I mentioned in my class this morning. It's like, if you're going to buy 55,000 Bitcoin, and I want all of you, okay, every single person here, I want you to put yourself in the shoes. All of you have 55,000 Bitcoin in your account right now, okay? And here I come. I'm Michael Saylor of MicroStrategy. It's going to be no surprise to all of you that who I am, right? We probably have a relationship built up. I come to you and I say, I need to buy $5.4 billion worth of Bitcoin. I want to buy 55,000 Bitcoin. Is anybody in this room, would any one of you, simple yes or no, would any one of you say, sure? Also, what are we trading at right now? We're at 99,000? Sure, I'll sell you all 55,000 at $99,000 of Bitcoin. Would anybody in here take that deal? Yes or no? Would you just dump all of it right now, knowing Michael Saylor's buying $5.4 billion? You would just unload yours right now. Yeah. I wish, Lori. I wish I could hand that out. The reality would be, if you were desperate, you'd probably say maybe. But if you're smart, I should see just streaming no's right now. Because you have a guy who's buying $5.4 billion. Which means he's going to drive price up. So no way am I going to sell mine. Not a chance. I know he's desperate. He has to find somebody. So in my opinion, there's no way that these people would sell to him. This guy's going to drive price up. So my 55,000 Bitcoin, which are worth 99 grand today, will be worth $110,000 tomorrow if he struggles to buy that. I'm not going to make it easy for him to buy it. There's no way. I know they have OTC desks, Ken, but show me the OTC desk that has 55,000 Bitcoin at the current price right now. I'll bet you $1 million you cannot find 55,000 Bitcoin for sale right now at $92,000. You might find 1,000, you might find 500, maybe 3,000. But remember the way pricing works. It's this cascade, right? Whoever wants to sell it at the lowest price gets rid of it first. Whoever wants to pay the highest price gets rid of it first. And then they build out, and there's people that want to sell at higher prices and higher and higher and higher. So the only way that he could buy that much without moving the market is either it was not a real transaction and did not go to the open market, or it was just transferred over from an account of a bank. There's no possible way. I've shown this graphic to you guys before. I mean, I can go out there right now and see what it's live. Coinbase, right? So it's called a depth chart. I pulled up the depth chart for Coinbase. I pulled up the depth chart for Binance as well. Binance is actually worse. If you look here, it's still the same boat. I mean, if I bought 4,944 Bitcoin right now, I would drive price up, you can see right here, to $161,000. So there is absolutely no way. Now, Margaret says BlackRock sold to him. Okay, now that's interesting. Now, could that happen? Absolutely. But BlackRock technically can't sell that Bitcoin that they hold because it's backed by IBIT, right? So IBIT is required to hold Bitcoin for every person who buys it. So if you buy $90,000 worth of IBIT, they have to buy a full Bitcoin. So from my understanding, from a legal perspective, BlackRock can't just sell him the Bitcoin at $99,000 or whatever, $90,000, because that is locked in. It has to be asset backed. That's the whole point of why the SEC did not want to approve these, because they wanted to make sure that there was actual custody and that you were actually holding the Bitcoin that you said you were and not manipulating price. If BlackRock is selling these Bitcoin, 55,000 of them to Saylor, that is technically trading customer funds, and that would be against the law. You can't, if you're required to hold assets for customers and customer funds for this ETF, you can't just sell those assets. Those are locked and tied to IBIT. So I don't know. It's a legitimate question I have, and I'd love an answer somehow, is where did he buy those 55,000 Bitcoin? I have no clue. Wouldn't the blockchain show the transaction? So that's the thing. That's why I tagged Glassnode on here. So Glassnode is one of the biggest data sources out there. They track blockchain entries, etc. They're great. That's why I'd like to see what they say about it. But yes, the transactions should be on the blockchain. However, we don't know where his money came from or where it went. See, if I make a transaction, I'm going to buy my Bitcoin. I'm going to have an address where that Bitcoin is at, and I can point to it. In this situation, all we have is an assurance from Michael Saylor, which he tweets out all the time. He tweets out all the time that BlackRock, or that MicroStrategy now has X amount of Bitcoin. I'll bring it up here because he just talked about it. Oh, great. There's just so many different things here. If you go to Twitter and follow Saylor, it's interesting. So you just follow @Saylor. But he talks about all the different Bitcoin that he's buying. And he says, oh, yeah, we got 390,000. Okay, well, where? Where are you keeping it? What address? And the thing is, there is no one address because he doesn't have the private keys. According to their financial statements, the Bitcoin is held at different entities. It's held at some at Coinbase. It's held some at Fidelity, which should also concern many of you, right? It should concern all of you, because if they say that they have $42+ billion worth of Bitcoin, but it's held on an exchange, there's a mantra that everyone in crypto knows: not your keys, not your crypto. So technically, Michael Saylor doesn't own anything if it's sitting on Coinbase or Fidelity, because he doesn't have the private keys. It's someone else. Now, I'm sure there's different rules for institutional ownership, but there's a lot of red flags going on here. A lot of red flags. No, Michael Saylor has no clue who I am. Remember, I'm an insignificant person in the whole world of trading. I'm just a guy. Just like from the movie American Gangster, we'll have to piece it together from several sources. Yeah, totally. And that's, I don't have the time. I would love to find out exactly how he bought, and where he's holding it. If Michael Saylor wanted to have the biggest impact on Bitcoin he could possibly have, what he would do is he would get a ledger, get a Trezor, some really good cold storage device. He would send all of his 390,000 Bitcoin to that address. And then, one second here. And then he would say, guys, here's my address right here. And we could all log in, look at that address and go, yep, there he is. There's his address. So we could trust, verify, and know exactly what's there. This is the largest Bitcoin address in the world, by the way. It has 1.26% of all the Bitcoins out there. That's 248,598 Bitcoin, where 22.8 billion is just sitting in this wallet address. This is Binance. So Binance has a big pool of liquidity. Now, could he have gone out there and bought it from Binance? That's what one of the rumors is. But this wallet address here hasn't changed. So let me click on this. You'll be able to see if the actual Bitcoin has moved. So you can see right here, it is not. Right, the number of Bitcoin has stayed in there pretty consistently. Stayed in there pretty consistently, 250,000. So yeah, this is a mystery, folks, an absolute mystery, and it's starting to make me nervous, because if this is a house of cards, MicroStrategy could absolutely implode. Well, let's hope it doesn't, right? I got my 340 calls. You talk about some crazy day today. Let's look at that. So I had the 340 puts, excuse me. So I had the 340 puts on this bad boy. We actually tiptoed down below that today. we hit it and bounced right off of that 340 level. Came actually down to 383, I think was the low. 338, excuse me. 338. Now we're back up to 360. But, this was definitely a blow-off event and some pretty significant downside move there today, down 12%, bouncing in the after hours. But look, MicroStrategy from its high point here just on November 21st to where we closed at today is down 35%. 35%, crazy. Oliver says they're cooking the book somewhere. Yeah, and I'm starting to think more and more of that. So we'll see how this week pans out with this MicroStrategy 340 put. If I get exercise, no problem. I'll sell calls against it. But I will tell you this, as I keep digging and looking into this more, I may start to move away from MicroStrategy. And one of the main reasons is I just don't believe what they're saying. You just sold $3 billion worth of bonds, right? Convertible. That's all documented, public, filed to the SEC. But literally the day that thing was, the ink dried, they already had the money and they already had bought their Bitcoin. I think you guys would all agree that if you're making a deal involving a convertible security, you're issuing a bond that is convertible to your security, there's a ton of legal requirements. There's a ton of people who need to sign off on that before you even get to the auction moment where you're actually selling this to the public. Now, once you do sell it to the public, there's transaction times. It's not instant settlement like this. I mean, I deposit a $10,000 check. I can't even take all the money out for 2 days, right? These guys apparently got that $3 billion, and then all of a sudden, within the next day, they bought $5.4 billion. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I mean, I'm not calling it a fraud, but it's starting to sound more and more like one. I'm almost turning against MicroStrategy. I think it's a brilliant concept. What he's doing is he's issuing debt, borrowing money, buying more Bitcoin, rinse, wash, repeat, and push the price up. But the numbers aren't making sense. The manner in which these transactions are happening don't make sense to me. I've been involved in finance a long time. Money doesn't move that fast. And it was instant. The moment the auction finished, the money was just magically there and he could deploy it instantly. Doesn't make sense. It kind of does. It smells of FTX. Hate to say it. There's something fishy about what's going on. And maybe Citron's right. I'm going to read through the whole thing this weekend to see what Citron's actual arguments are. Most people are just calling it a Ponzi scheme because they borrow money, buy Bitcoin, drives the price up, and borrow more and more. I'm questioning the whole Bitcoin at all. Where is it? Where is it sitting? Let's see. MicroStrategy was clearly overvalued, so it needed a good pullback. Nonetheless, this doesn't seem entirely plausible given all the discussions. Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. I'd love to get someone on the phone who is more entrenched in it than I am. I'm pretty sharp at crypto, and I just don't see how you can buy that much and not move the market. I mean, especially this is a retail platform I'm showing here. There's no argument here. Don't take this as, oh, this is all that's available. But you can see that buying just 5,000 Bitcoin, which is $500 million, $500 million, is going to have a monstrous impact. You would drive up the price of Bitcoin 42% just with that one order of $500 million. And he bought 5.4. That's crazy. Anyway, sorry. I'm on a rant. Sorry, my bad. Let's see. Just an FYI, camera is looking very crispy. Thank you. Yep. You know why, Liv? Because I switched everything back to auto. So even if I move in, it should focus on things that are close up. Yeah. And now it'll refocus on me. So I had it on manual, and apparently if I move just a little bit, I'm trying to figure all these problems out, right? Now I'm a camera expert as well. All right, what else you guys got to say? As yesterday, I wasn't looking at any strikes above the mid-200s. You might be right, Liz. And who knows, I may be in a little bit of a pain here come Friday. We'll see. I'm not overly concerned with it at this moment. Maybe Michael Saylor can join Sam Bankman-Fried, P. Diddy. Hey, we'll see. I don't think I don't know. Something may come out of this that's much different than I expected. I responded to your tweet earlier about margin and hypothecation. Yeah, I did see that, Jay. Thank you. MicroStrategy is the most leveraged Bitcoin ETF on the market, hands down, and overvalued, right? Bitcoin should be 100,000 already. If he bought that 5.4 billion, when we went into the market on Friday, when we had our show on Friday, I said, we'll be at 100,000 by the end of the weekend because Saylor's buying $3 billion worth. Not only did he buy $3 billion, he bought $5.4 billion and the markets didn't move. It's not possible. It is mathematically impossible. There's no way that could happen. Anyway, let's see. Sarah asked about a crypto wallet. So look, wallets are really up to what you want to do with it. If you want to be someone who's transacting and buying goods and services, like Friday night, I went out to my local shabu place here, and Wayne took my payment in Bitcoin. I busted out my Coinbase app on my phone, scanned his QR code, and paid for it. If you want to do DeFi, going on to Uniswap, SushiSwap, PancakeSwap, Thorchain, all these different DeFi marketplaces, so you're outside of the purview of traditional finance, you'd need something that's a decentralized wallet, which would be MetaMask is probably your number one bet. If you just want to kind of link to your Coinbase account, just get a Coinbase wallet. Coinbase is not the best. I would recommend that if you got a wallet, is something that you could control your private keys. That would be like a trust wallet. Trust wallet, you have your seed phrase, which means the assets there you own. I'm just skeptical of any applications, just because they're only as safe as the code that was written. So if somebody gives you a wallet to use for crypto, who wrote the code? Is there a bug in there? Is there a backdoor that they can just take all my crypto out of? I always am nervous about that. But MetaMask is one of the more predominant ones out there. I would say MetaMask is probably pretty good. Marcus said, how long did it take to show that the transaction went through? So according to Coinbase, it took about 52 seconds, which was shocking to me and the guy that runs the shabu place. But he kept refreshing and it didn't show up. I actually left without it showing up in his account. He knows me, so I'm a regular at this place. But when I got home, it took about 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes. MicroStrategy is feeling a lot like Terra Luna. Oh, Chris, let me get out of my put position first. Yeah, maybe not as bad. What I like about MicroStrategy is there's been no mystery about what they're doing. They've been very upfront and very straightforward. I appreciate that. And that's why I've been a fan of MicroStrategy for as long as I can remember, because they didn't hide anything. Here's what we're doing. But if you can't clearly tell me how you bought those 55,000 Bitcoin, there's just no way. There's just no way. We could actually go and look at the blockchain. Let's see. Volume Bitcoin transactions traded daily. So here's the number of Bitcoin transactions per day. Well, that's a lot. That's 600,000. But I want to see 652,000 Bitcoin were traded today. Or sorry. Yeah, I'm not sure. I got to look at this a little bit deeper. But yeah, I'd like to know more detail about that. Anyway, I'm going to go on and on and on. What was the other? I had another question that came through. 1 second. We talked about that. No, I did. I got to all the questions I want. CB, since Binance is way more traffic than Coinbase, would it be wise to use Binance instead? So I had Binance up there as well. So Binance.us and Binance.com are very different. There's more liquidity at Binance.com. However, I'll do the same thing for you. This is Binance. Here's Bitcoin. And I'm going to click on market depth here. And I mean, their ceiling here, I don't get it, is 10. So they're blocking this somehow internally on Binance. But they've got a 25% kind of stop loss. If you bought 10 Bitcoin, just 10, you would move the price of Bitcoin up 25% according to their exchange. That's scary. I mean, that's a pretty significant jump just for 10 Bitcoin. So there's very, 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 very little liquidity on Binance as well. No, I would think that Binance would be better, but Binance.us is weak and so is .com. Anyway, let's go into our broader markets, economic stuff. Today you had a couple interesting pieces come out. Let me bring those up for you here. They were not good. So you had consumer confidence, which did jump, but not as high as expectations. The new home sales one was way weaker than expected. They thought it was going to drop from 738,000 new homes to 725. It came out at 610. Big picture, though, still okay. Here is your long-term chart going all the way back to 2007. It's still okay. It's still, pretty elevated, but it is definitely slowly drifting down. Now, tomorrow is an even bigger day because on Wednesday, there we go. We have our preliminary GDP numbers coming out. We also have our core PCE price index numbers. That's huge. Right now, expectations are we're going to stay at 0.3. That is not necessarily a good thing. If you annualize 0.3%, that comes out to be 3.6% inflation, which is not what the current administration wants, nor does our central bankers. So definitely keep your eye out. This will happen. This is Pacific time. So this will be 30 minutes into the trading day. We should get a core PCE price index number. Let me make sure that's correct. Yep. 30 minutes in the trading day. So markets will be open. So that first half hour, guys, could be absolutely insane volatility. Be careful. Is it a good idea to sell options before the long holiday weekend because of time decay? Sure. All right. You get an extra, 3.5 days because Friday will be a half day. We'll see. We will see what will happen with those options. It's interesting because I have options that expire Friday, which is a half day. So I'm fine with that. I mean, that's great. I got that one extra day of kind of free decay, which is Thanksgiving. And during that half day, may look to sell options on my Rivian again. So I have the Rivians that expire. I told you I had the 1250 Rivian call options against my position, which was great at one point today. I was like, whoa, here we go. We had an intraday high on Rivian of 1227 today, closed at 1158. So I would love it if we ended up closing somewhere in that 1150 to 1250 range. That'd be perfect, but we still got a couple days left for that one. All right, that is it. Earnings-wise, really nothing that spectacular reporting earnings, so I'm going to wrap it up with that one. I was trying to shoot for a 30-minute show. I was trying my best. So that will do it for me, everybody. Again, if you want to do a little bit of recon analysis stuff, and you're curious, see if you can find out how Saylor bought those Bitcoin. I know who's custodying them, but any documentation we can find that says, here's where they are, here's where they were purchased from, here's the registration on the blockchain, here's the entry of the transaction, that would ease my confusion and, fears here. If we can't find any of that information, that's not a good sign that this is legitimate. It tells me it's, not legitimate. All right, anyway, that's going to do it for me. Tomorrow will be the last show for the week, so if you have something you want me to discuss on tomorrow's show, looking forward to it. Email me at tradermerlin@gmail.com or put your comments down below the YouTube videos. Let's have fun for tomorrow. So if there's some topic, get it in sooner rather than later so I can get them all prepared. That said, guys, hope you have a fantastic day tomorrow. Rivian, I saw that Rivian is the prime dealer for Amazon trucks today. Yeah, they build the Amazon trucks. Yep, it's a Rivian. And that's why I've been bullish on it, because Amazon bought into them. Amazon's part owner of that thing. I'm not going to let that die. It's good. Anyway, thank you guys so much. Have a great day. Email me if you got any questions or topics for tomorrow. See you tomorrow.